On March 8, 2014, one of the Malaysian flight MH370 departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing, China, but it did not reach its destination. How could a massive aircraft can completely disappear after a few minutes of its departure, along with 227 passengers and 12 crew members? It's been over 9 years since that unfortunate day when the Boeing 777 vanished from the radar and left behind a trail of unanswered questions. Finally, after a long years of searching, now there is a clue about where could be the plane be and who was behind this incident. This is the story of flight MH370, flight that never landed. It was a clear night at Kuala City, the capital of Malaysia. MH370 was one of the daily flights from Lumpur International Airport to Beijing, China. Duration was as usual 5 hours 34 minutes. The passengers were boarding the plane in the hope that they would see their friends and families. But they did not know that in a few minutes, something was going to happen that would change their lives and they will be the part of mystery. All 12 crew members were Malaysian, and out of 227 passengers, 153 were Chinese and other passengers were from 14 different nations. On the other side, pilots were getting ready to take off, doing pre-checks and other formalities on flight. The first pilot in the command was 53-year-old Captain Zari Ahmad Shah with 18,365 hours of flight and trainer experience. Along with the Khan, the second pilot in the command was 27-year-old Freak Abdul Hamid with 2,763 hours of flight experience. He was very excited. This was his last training flight and he was scheduled to be examined on his next flight. On the day, the plane was filled with food and luggage and around 108,200 pounds of jet fuel, including reserve fuel for delays and emergency diversions. Flight took off from runway at 12:41 am and pilots confirmed with the air traffic control at 1:01 am that their flight has been reached 35,000 foot of level. After a few minutes later, around 1:19 am, contact was made by the flight captain Zari Shah and he confirmed the transition between Lumpur to Ho Chi Minh and said this.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Everything was going as planned until now. Neither the captain nor did control tower knew that this message is going to be the last message from MH370. Just about a few minutes later, when the flight was about to enter Vietnamese airspace, flight was expected to contact Vietnamese air traffic control, where they previously lost contact with Malaysian control tower. This was normal and usual for Kuala Lumpur control tower because they thought the plane had entered the Vietnamese airspace. But shortly the panic started when Vietnamese air traffic control did not receive signals from MH370. It was hard to believe that the good night message is going to be the last words that captain said to Lumpur air traffic control. After cruising for a while in the direction of the South China Sea, around 1:22 am, the flight once appeared on radar screen for few seconds and then suddenly disappeared from both sides again. For the next 18 minutes, Vietnamese air traffic control tried to reach out to the aircraft but they did not get any response back. What they hear just mumbling and statics. First they thought it was a glitch in the system, but after a few minutes of waiting, the Vietnamese control tower declared the MH370 lost and contacted Lumpur traffic control. What usually happens in this situation? Traffic control has to pass the information to the emergency response team within 1 hour of the accident. But they made a huge mistake. It took them 4 hours to decide what should they do. At this time, flight should have been arrived at Beijing, China at 6:32 am. By not wasting any more time, search operation has been launched at the exact spot where the plane disappeared. The world was in shock as the search for the missing aircraft began. Search was launched with 34 vessels and 28 aircrafts and helicopters from around the different nations. near the border of Gulf of Thailand and the South China Sea, but unfortunately no trace of aircraft found. Search operation continued for next 4 days. Finally, and good news came. Luckily, the plane was missing from civilian radar but not from Malaysian primary radar. For the next 1 hour, what they see is plane took a sharp U-turn, then again took a left turn towards northwest direction. It's like plane took U-turn to get back to the Malaysia, but it did not landed. Plane passed Penang city of Malaysia towards Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Flight was available from until 1:30 to 1:35 on military radar, but unfortunately disappeared again. In these few minutes, what they observed is flight continue across Malay Peninsula, keeping height between 31,000 to 33,000 and altitude of around 10,000 meters. Another report comes from Sultan Ismail Petra Airport, showed 4 detections of unidentified aircraft between 1:30 to 1:52 am. It is believed that unidentified aircraft was MH370. Flight MH370 flew near an island called Penang, then over a place called the Strait of Malacca and some waypoints like Wampi. The last radar signal was detected at 2:22 am, not far from Penang, when the plane was at 29,500 feet and traveling near waypoint Mekar, not far from Indian Ocean. People start panicking and it was a complete chaos for families of lost and for Malaysian authorities. Search and rescue team tried to figure it out what could have happened when there were no signs of bad weather, distress signals or any technical problems. Over 4,600,000 square kilometers area has been searched, but they did not find any evidence of MH370. It is believed that the search and rescue teams did not find the plane wreckage because it was hijacked or intentionally ditched in the ocean by one of the pilots. Because when the plane disappeared, it took a sharp U-turn which is not capable of autopilot. Only someone from inside can do it. By keeping this in mind, police started its investigation on Captain Zari Ahmed Shah. Later what they found that Captain Shah had his private plane simulator in his home. They found the same route of flight where the flight last seen before disappearance. After an interview with his family and friends, police did not find any unusual evidence from Captain Shah, but what they found is 2 Iranian men with fake passports. Investigators believe that the plane was hijacked by 29-year-old Mohammad Rizar Dilawar and 19-year-old Puria Noor Mohammad. This was confirmed by the Interpol that Noor Mohammad was traveling with stolen Australian passport and his friend with stolen Italian passport. They were seen as suspects for movement, but after an investigation, while the story turned out in another direction, they were only traveling to seek asylum in Germany. In investigation, they found Noor Mohammad was going to meet her mother in Frankfurt, where she was waiting for him at airport. It is believed that they were not likely to member of any terror organization and they were just only trying to seek asylum in Germany. It was a shock for everyone and hard to believe when they did not find any key evidence of missing of aircraft. Finally, after 8 years of long search, the plane is now expected to be found. Retired aerospace engineer Richard Goffrey has formed a new theories. He claimed that he found the actual location of the plane through weak signal propagation analysis and surprisingly the exact pinpoint location. Richard has mentioned the plane is just sitting under the ocean where the searching team was looking. He believes the wreck of MH370 is lying 400 meters under ocean and where black box could be found. People have started questioning Malaysian authorities and urging them to start search again so they can find out what happened to their beloved ones. But who knows if government of Malaysia will take it serious or not and try to find MH370 once again. Till today, the disappearance of the flight has become the most mysterious aviation incident in history. Who knows what is really happened with flight MH370 until we found black box of the plane. As we continue to unravel what happened to the flight, we must remember that behind every static, there are real people whose lives were tragically altered. Let us not forget the victims and their families, who still hope for closure and solace. This is the end of the story. Hope you will like it and share with your friends and families, and we'll see you in next video.